I have to wonder if Bunny Carlos was holding down any normalcy that the band had going, because I think he quit after the latest.
The latest is his final album. Then Bang Zoom, Crazy Hello, We're All Right, Christmas, and then they go back to semi-normal album titles. But
I'm glad Christmas got it out of their system. Jesus.
Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we're continuing our series on Janelle Monáe, talking about her first proper album after the audition, the ArchAndroid. And this album came out in May of 2010, produced by Janelle Monáe herself and her collaborators in the Wonderland Art Society, Deep Cotton, Nate Rocket Wonder, and Chuck Lightning. And this record is really the start of her career as a pop superstar, as a creator of this sprawling Metropolis story, the story of this android Cindy Mayweather who falls in love with a human and is persecuted for it. And Matt, tell me a little bit about your history with this album.
Yeah, so this was my first real exposure to Janelle Monáe's work. Like I mentioned last time, I had heard Cold War and Tightrope at work a lot when I was working in retail. Saw those videos a bunch as well, and didn't get sick of them. So I naturally eventually checked out this album, and man, it was sprawling compared to the expectations set up by those singles, which are obviously great. Just I had no real background on the story behind the album. I was vaguely aware of Metropolis, but didn't listen to it first. So kind of came in blind to this one, and maybe didn't appreciate it as fully as I should back in the day. But I recognized that these were great songs. Janelle and company were really pulling in a bunch of influences and really melding them well into this really cool high concept thing that I just didn't quite grok at the time. But I definitely recognized that it was something special, and it stuck with me in the subsequent years and kind of set me up to really want to pay attention to what they were doing as their career went on. But what about you?
So as I mentioned last week, first heard her as a guest artist on Fun's We Are Young, and would hear singles, saw movies that she's in. This series is the first time I had listened to the ArchAndroid in full, and it is a fascinating album, one that I think kind of halfway really, really works for me and halfway kind of doesn't. And I think that split, as we'll get into, is pretty much Suite 2 versus Suite 3 of the Metropolis story.
Interesting. Okay. I'm intrigued to hear more.
Yeah, and yeah, so just in terms of talking about what this album kind of is, this is the continuation of the Cindy Mayweather story, and it is effectively a double album that is set up in the Chase EP was Suite 1, and this is Suite 2 and Suite 3 make up the ArchAndroid, and these two parts of this record feel very stylistically distinct, whereas I feel like Suite 2 is very focused on the upbeat, the faster stuff. It feels like a pretty clear continuation of what's going on in the Chase Suite. And Suite 3 to me seems like she gets really kind of exploratory stylistically, gets really into this psychedelic funk thing, and tries some stuff that doesn't entirely land.
Okay, I can see that. Do you feel like part of that might be so I feel like when people talk about setting up series and having this kind of multi-part arc that you're going through, often the penultimate thing is a little bit of a tough hang in isolation. And this was originally supposed to be Suite 3 was supposed to be the second to last suite. Obviously that ultimately didn't end up being the case, because it just kind of the story just kept expanding through Electric Lady and kind of beyond. Like as you mentioned on the last episode, we keep getting more and more unfilled moons on the album covers as we keep going here. But as of this album, we have 4, and this is 2 and 3 out of 4 if I'm counting things correctly. Yeah, I'm looking at the album cover right now. Like not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like something that I noted, at least like kind of musically and story wise, is how unresolved everything feels by the time we get to the end of Suite 3. Suite 3 also feels like it is doing a lot of the heavy lifting is happening in the kind of love story, and like how the love between the two main characters feels, rather than like propelling the story forward. And I wonder if that is maybe reflected in the music, and like that being its own discrete kind of unit within this album, and all those songs being clustered together might contribute to kind of that feeling. But also, you know, the fact that it's so peppered with like psychedelic music in a way that like the rest of the album just isn't, and the rest of her stuff isn't.
Yeah, I think so. It is more of its own little character piece. I'm curious, just in terms of release strategy, if releasing Suite 2 as the album as an album, and then Suite 3 as its own separate EP or something like that, was ever considered. Clearly, this was, you know, you listen to her talk about this album in the interviews, and she sees it as one sort of vision, one big piece. She's always talking about like, you have to listen to the album in full to have the full experience. And so clearly she sees these as this group of songs as all fitting together. But it was just something I was thinking about as I was listening to it over this past week, and just being like, oh, you know, after Mushrooms and Roses, which I think is like the way that song introduces the psychedelic stuff is pretty cool, and that transition works. But then it's like I'm 4 songs into the back half of the album, and I'm like, I don't know if this is really going in a direction that I'm super into.
Sure, I that's totally fair. But like, yeah, to your point, like we really, like, Suite 3 is so diverse in its influences, but like all like kind of comes together in this really unique way. Whereas, yeah, I feel like the back half of the album, inclusive of the Of Montreal song that is on this album, which we'll just call it out, it is an Of Montreal song. It is not a Janelle Monáe song. It feels like we're kind of becoming a little more singular in our like focus on this thing that like hasn't really been peppered throughout the album so far, aside from on Mushrooms and Roses leading into that suite.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you read through the liner notes in this and look at, like, you know, try to get a sense of what the greater story actually is that she's telling on these records?
I didn't get a chance to go through the liner notes, but I was kind of going through like kind of various sources and trying to piece it together from there. And like in some of the songs, the lyrics make it pretty apparent what's happening. But I would love to hear more about kind of what it is presented as to the listener.
Yeah, so I guess one thing that since you mentioned it, is using the lyrics to piece together the story. It kind of is impossible, and that's sort of by design, because based on the interviews that we watched with Nate Wonder, he was saying that there would be lyrics that they would pull out of songs because they were too explanatory of the world, and it was taking away from the focus on the character or the emotions, and feeling like and they saw that as sort of as freeing, because if this is a big multimedia project, if there's going to be movies, there's going to be graphic novels, there's, you know, this grand vision they have of the Metropolis story, then they can leave out the explanations of some of the world building and leave that for other stuff, for like, you know, the most dedicated fans who want to figure all of the lore out, and let the songs be the songs. And I thought that was, you know, it takes restraint. If you're the kind of person who's creating a big sci-fi world like this, it takes restraint, I think, to not explain it all away.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I feel like we saw kind of another very big time concept band that we've covered, MCR. Like, I feel like we saw some of that in like their approach to kind of approaching these like very story based things, but like kind of pulling back from the story to make the songs stand a little bit more on their own, just as songs, and like not necessarily as part of this grander story, but you can observe them as such if you want to. I'd say there's more story in the MCR stuff, but, you know, I still feel like they did a little bit of that.
Yeah. No, so the liner notes, what I was going to say, it presents the album as the liner notes are a letter from one Max Stellings, who is the vice chancellor of the Palace of the Dogs Asylum, writing in 2010 about a patient in the asylum, patient number 57821, named Janelle Monáe. And and the premise of the album basically is that it is something that she composed to tell her own story, which is also why she's stuck in this asylum, which is that she was kidnapped in the year 2719, had her DNA stolen and used to create an android who is Cindy Mayweather, and then she was sent back in time to the year 2010. And that this Cindy Mayweather, who shares her DNA, is the mythic ArchAndroid, who is sort of a Neo style, this messianic figure that's going to free the citizens of Metropolis from this secret society called the Great Divide. And this is like, I'm reading this and I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever. I love
it. It really is.
I love a crazy setup premise like this, and I'm so happy that I bought these CDs because I like you said, this stuff is, there's like allusions to it, references to it in the songs, but the actual story is you kind of have to do further research to get it, and it's obviously it's in the visuals and the music videos and the artwork and everything. But something about this was like, oh, this is like real nerd stuff, and I feel right at home in it.
Yeah, I think that is perfectly valid. I wish I had picked up a physical copy of this record before sitting down tonight, but that was my bad. But now I'm going to do a lot more reading on this because that sounds sick as hell.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's obviously she's using genre fiction as a way to talk about real world issues. And, this is like not a new thing. The authors that she cites, the films that she cites as influences are doing the same thing. And in terms of like the real world stuff that she's talking about, there's a common thread. Like I watched a whole bunch of interviews with her from this era. It's it's funny. Sometimes we'll cover an artist who has been interviewed like 4 times ever, and then we're covering like a clearly world famous pop star, and there's where she did dozens and dozens of interviews on this press cycle, and they're all asking like a lot of the same questions. And you get to see her, which I think is she's clearly great at this stuff, and she's a great actress too. So she's also, which I think contributes to it. But you just see her like sort of modulate her personality and her level of weird, which she can be extremely weird at times. I mean that as like the highest compliment.
Of course,
to fit with like the vibe of the interview that she's in is just kind of fun to watch, but. There are like a lot of common threads that develop throughout these interviews of stuff about how she's always sees herself as coming from a working class background and making music for the people that is meant to be motivating and uplifting. And, this album is sort of themed around this idea of self-realization and about like finding your superpowers. And so I think she's very good at selling the vision for this record, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that tracks. And yeah, I like that she is very open about this, like this album being an album about self-actualization, self-realization, following what you feel your calling is, listening to your muses, etc., because that is definitely in the text of the album for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And like obviously contributes to like a really authentic feeling experience in a like by and large like very like in the sci-fi of it all world, like because I can totally see a situation where like less restraint is put into putting these songs out in the world, and this just feels absolutely inaccessible. It feels like you're trying to figure out a Coheed and Cambria album or something. We'll get to that some other time.
Yeah. No, but I think part of it is you hear this in the Deep Cotton interviews around like the production of the album too, and both Janelle Monáe and the guys in Deep Cotton are all like the music comes first, and you need something that bangs and jams, and then the story follows from that, and the emotion follows from that. And I think that's a good way to approach doing a high concept thing like this, because I mean, it's the same way with books or whatever, movies. You can build an incredible world, but that hardly matters if the characters you populate it with are flat and aren't meaningful to people. And you can knock the world building sci-fi authors or fantasy authors all you want, but like the ones that are successful are usually successful because they have very interesting, they have characters and stories that resonate. And so from I think I thought that was kind of an eye-opening thing to just be like, oh yeah, she wants to make great music that moves people, and the sci-fi stuff is on top of that in a way that I think is awesome, but it all does start with the song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the way it is with any genre fiction, any fiction in general, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to, like, yes, the fantastical is wonderful, like kind of its own accord, but when you want to make a piece of art that like really touches people, it has to be based in the human experience. Like, even if there is this extra layer of extrapolation, like, yeah, we've already kind of touched on a lot of how Janelle's music reflects like real world experiences that she's had, and again, like that's how any good science fiction, horror, fantasy is it is reflective of the real world, but has this kind of additional, layer of extraction that like, takes you out of these real world experiences that are informing it.
Yeah. It maybe takes you just far enough away from it to then bring you back and hit you even harder with it later.
Yeah. Well, and it also creates situations in which people feel empowered to, enact change. They believe that these characters can do things that you don't feel like you can do in real life, because Cindy Mayweather is the ArchAndroid. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the other character's name off the top of my head, and I feel so bad.
Anthony Greendown.
Anthony Greendown. I almost said Greenwood. But yeah, Anthony Greendown. Like, these characters are special because of certain sci-fi, things that are allowed to happen that don't happen in the real world, which kind of gives you this extra boost to be like, yeah, no, these characters can totally lead a revolution to free the people of Metropolis, which real people can do too, but it's a lot harder and scarier. So
right, yeah. One more thing I want to hit on before we start talking about the songs is the album artwork. I had seen this album cover for years, and I always was just like, "Oh, that's an illustration, or that's a computer generated whatever image of her wearing this incredible looking crown." And as I'm watching the interviews, listen to her talk about the sort of art direction and everything about the record. And she's like, "Oh yeah, the crown is real. It was made by this guy Jesse Clarkson, who has done work on like costumes and special effects work and stuff on like The Dark Knight and Edward Scissorhands and a bunch of big movies." And it's a real crown. You can wear it, and it was in the Smithsonian for an exhibit on Afrofuturism, which is very awesome. And I assume it's not still there, but I wish I could see it in person.
Yeah, same. I'll have to look a little deeper and see if that, like, it's possible it's an ongoing exhibit, but I'm guessing that it is probably long since gone, especially given things being the way that they
there's
are
pictures
near
of
the
it.
Smithsonian now. Yeah,
that's true.
It looks
yes.
sick as hell.
Yeah, there's pictures of it out there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, should we get into the songs?
Let's do it.
There's a lot of them on this album.
There are so many of them on this album.
All right, so this opens up with the Suite 2 Overture, which is just like this very cinematic introduction to the album. Chuck Lightning and Nate Wonder talk about some specific influences like The Dark Knight and Lord of the Rings, these very epic movie scores that they wanted to pull from to set the stage for the album.
Yeah, they had mentioned that like they went through a couple of iterations alongside Roman Jean Arthur, sorry, that's how you pronounce his last name. And like, yeah, some of them like were, they basically were like, yeah, we had one that sounded like Hans Zimmer, we had one that sounded like Howard Shore, and then like ultimately came to what is presented on the album, which it was originally going to be one suite just at the beginning of the record, one overture that was at the beginning of the record that like collected themes from throughout the record that I think Nate said he had kind of pulled snippets of, and ultimately it ended up getting separated into these two separate overtures that sample melodies, other like references to things on the album, like a good overture does in the
right
in a musical, in an opera, what have you. And honestly, great job. It rules.
Yeah, and I think you need both overtures to sort of separate the two parts of the album.
Yeah.
One thing that so every song on this record in the liner notes has a little blurb about what inspired it. And one of the things that in this one is that it was inspired by Princess Leia's cinnamon bun hairstyle, which I think is great because it's a classic, bit of costume, but also just the way that in all the videos and the art around this album is that Janelle Monáe's hair is very like distinct and just it's sort of the fact that she's thinking about what hair says about a character is just right there in the liner notes, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that rules, and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So then this overture ends with a bit of applause that segues into the next song, which is "Dance or Die," and this song was not at all what I expected coming out of the first Metropolis EP. This is like a straight up hip hop song with Janelle Monáe is rapping, and this is a really, really cool way to sort of throw you off and also do something really, really fun at the beginning of this record.
Yeah, it is. It is an absolute blast. I had to rewind this song so many times to like get any notes on literally anything that she was saying in those first couple of verses, because she is just like blasting through these lyrics. And like, yeah, it's in a lot of ways kind of classic Atlanta hip hop. Which absolutely rules, because that's not really something we have heard from her thus far. And it just absolutely rules, and it's juxtaposed with this really, really catchy hook that like comes back after like going through these verses super quick. We've got Saul Williams on the track as well, providing some like kind of rhythmically spoken verses, which makes sense. And yeah, it's such a cool song and such a departure from anything we've heard so far from Janelle.
Yeah, and it's very much like a stage setting song. It's talking about just kind of like everything that's going on in Metropolis, sort of down on the street level with the people of the city, which is always going to serve to build the world and also draw all the connections to the things she's talking about in our world too.
Yeah.
Anything else on Dance or Die?
No. I mean, okay, there's some great trumpet in the bridge alongside more Saul Williams, but another real big highlight of this song, absolutely ripping guitar solo.
Yeah,
just great stuff. Yeah, we get a lot of really incredible guitar solos on this record. Courtesy of Kalindo Parker, just incredible guitarist. Comes from a long lineage of incredible musicians, from what I understand too.
Played with James Brown, and
yeah.
Or his uncles played with James Brown.
Yeah.
So then that's Dance or Die has a pretty like seamless transition into faster, and the way that these songs move right into one another is kind of a similar thing that she was doing on the Chase Suite, and it's one of those things that just makes this feel like this part of the record feel very intentionally put together. But this one is sort of a song about knowing that this love affair she has, that Cindy character has with Anthony Greendown, will, or at least could, destroy her, but wanting to go for it anyway. It's kind of full of references to sci-fi, to Greek myth, to all the kinds of things that lend this story its sort of epic scope.
Yeah. This song, unsurprisingly, also rules. It's really cool how like not only are the transitions good, but like just the subtle shift in general like kind of vibe and feel between between a lot of the songs on this part of the record, but like specifically like the run from Dance or Die into Faster, and honestly into Locked Inside. It like you said, it makes it feel like it's part of this like very intentional grander work. Yeah, I don't know. It's just wild stuff.
Yeah, it's just looking through the lyrics again. I mean, like, oh yeah, that's there's Superman, there's Philip K. Dick, there's Icarus. It's one of those things that like she's able to sort of synthesize all these different influences into something that still feels like it's not too derivative in any way, which I think is just good sci-fi writing.
It is, yeah. This is also like this song is interesting, like kind of from a story perspective, because like we kind of at this point on the record, like Cindy knows she is the ArchAndroid, like kind of knows what she has to do from what I understand. But this is like kind of where a lot of other places on the album we get this kind of like this unequivocal like this love is in a lot of ways like all I need, even though like I have other goals. But like this song in particular, like yeah, we get those references to like you kryptonite my life, like that this is maybe not a distraction, but like maybe a little bit of a distraction. And I like how that's kind of reflected in the way that the lyrics are sung, in that we get this like we get these like kind of stuttering moments throughout Faster, like every night. There's the the ending of the ending of the road, where like it almost sounds like Cindy is like short circuiting a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I like
which
that.
I think is a really neat touch.
Yeah, and in a way, it's kind of like a sort of the classic story structure idea, like a refusal of the call a little bit.
Yeah.
Which then I think as you get into Locked Inside, the next song, that is where she sort of is committing to both the relationship, the love, and knowing that and also to her, to her goal, her sort of destiny, I guess, and sort of combining those two things and knowing that they can drive each other inside of her.
Yeah. This song feels like a lot of we're kind of getting presented with a lot of realities and decisions being made, around, what those realities represent. This song is like, this is kind of our, we're not like truly slowing down, but we are pumping the brakes a little bit, because like, yeah, it feels like following kind of a minor refusal of the call in some ways to use the language of the hero's journey. This feels like we are kind of in acceptance. We're gonna ramp up again soonish. Not at Sir Greendown, obviously. That song's quite laid back, but yeah, I don't know. Like this song gets very vibey in some parts. Like that pre-chorus has like what I called Weather Channel vibes in my notes.
A little bit, yeah.
Like kind of that vaporwave, the same aesthetic that vaporwave is based on, not necessarily the vaporwave aesthetic that was like, I feel like that didn't like truly hit the ground running until a couple of years later, but I don't remember when Macintosh Plus dropped or whatever that album with the Greek statue on the front was called.
I have no idea.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not actually important for the purposes of this conversation. Yeah, I don't know. There's some really great lines on this song, or in this song. I particularly liked on Real Cold Days, he loans us lots of hate, but he says that we must pay to take it all away. This kind of like basically creating problems to sell you solutions to a thing that happens often in the real world. Yeah. And also turns out happens in Metropolis. What a surprise.
Yeah.
There's also a direct reference to a Stevie Wonder song titled Village Ghetto Land, the babies die before they're born line, which like in isolation is like, oh no, are we talking about something weird and bad? But no, it's just, this is talking about, kind of predestination type stuff.
Right. The idea that your circumstances determine how far you can go in life, and that there's no way to break out of that. I mean, and that's, as it gets the next couple lines kind of build on that too, that that the writers are paid to tell us lies to keep us locked inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you get into the bridge that's very much this like, I can make a change, I can start a fire. This I get kind of like the fusion of the love story with the greater sort of story of resistance on the album.
Yeah, exactly. The two kind of the two big ideas on the album, like synthesizing into kind of this singular motion forward that we're going to kind of carry throughout the rest of the record.
Yeah. Next up is Sir Greendown, which is a very sort of laid back ballad that is a love story, a love song from Cindy to her human lover Anthony Greendown. And this one is like kind of steeped in medieval imagery. It makes it feel like this extremely classical, very out of time, like out of its time love song. And it's very inspired by Moon River. The liner notes mention that it's inspired by Walt Disney and Salvador Dali in terms of sort of the imagery and the mood. What do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. Yeah, and yeah, it kind of feels like the most extreme example of kind of drawing on these classic influences, like outside of the overture, obviously, which is like very much drawing on like the romantic period of classical music, and then the ways in which that influences like modern, cinematic writing for orchestra. Like yeah, this feels the most antiquated. And like makes sense because we are talking to Sir Greendown. We're talking about dragons. We're talking about towers. Classic medieval imagery here.
And then you get like cyborgs have a plan later in the album.
Exactly.
Like you could look at that as like, if this is about someone who's time traveling, there's an element of that about things that feel like they shouldn't be together in the same time period are kind of all mixed up.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from that we get into Cold War. This next section of the album is like absolute fire. It's the singles are kind of all in the middle of the record. And so yeah, Cold War was the second single. This apparently was considered as the album opener, but it ended up here. I think this is like a dynamite song. Just an incredible hook.
Yeah.
And this sort of is the epitome of the like of how Janelle Monáe sees herself as like an inspirational artist, an empowering artist. Like this is a song about that.
Yeah, for sure. It was really interesting to hear like kind of how many iterations this song went through, and also that like this was kind of seen for a while as like the statement for the album, which like I think I definitely do get from a mood perspective. I don't know that it serves as a good like, I don't want to say overview to the album, but like I think it sits in a really good place here.
Yeah, I agree.
I remember originally hearing this that I took a little bit of issue with like just how much we return to the chorus on this song, but as life has gone on, and I have seen more and more senseless conflict in the world, the number of times you need to say something like this is a Cold War, you better know what you're fighting for, or do you know what you're fighting for, it probably bears repeating more times than it's even presented in this song.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm often one to criticize a chorus that's repeated too many times or is just like one line repeated over and over again. But man, I don't even like think twice about this song. It feels so right. Like you could just play that chorus for like a few more minutes on repeat if you wanted to, and I would probably be into it.
It's true. Like this song could be very, very long if it wanted to, and it would not matter.
Yeah.
There could just be a radio edit. Not a big deal.
Yeah. And then I mean the particular lyric that I think is really stands out in this song is that I'm trying to find my peace. I was made to believe there's something wrong with me, which kind of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier with this idea that people are made to believe that their circumstances determine as far as how far they can go in life and what they can be, and that this is a song about breaking through that, and even if you have thought your entire life that there's something wrong with you, like there's not. You are you, and you can be the person that you want to be, and you should be able to live without shame or whatever you feel like is holding you back.
Yeah, exactly. And like this is one of those maybe I don't want to say rare because there are, I think, a lot of them, but I think this is an exceptional version of the like war as a metaphor for, you know, a conflict within oneself, specifically because it is looking at this concept of you are born into a particular set of circumstances, and through the conscious and unconscious actions of others, that is being fed into, like, nobody is born, you know, particularly one way or another. Other people project certain expectations onto you based on those things. That is something that needs to be sung about a lot. And I think it's particularly effective in this song that we, you know, return to that idea in this verse and like reinforce it throughout the song.
Yeah, I think you summed that up quite well. Yeah, and then there is a music video for the song. It is just a close up of her singing. Although I was reading that this was like inspired by her like crying when she recorded the song, and just like wanting the video to be representing that level of emotion and how important she finds the song, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I think it works really well from that perspective. I did not know that the first time I saw it, and I was like, this is a little weird, but having that context, it's incredible, and it's so well shot. Like I really love this video.
Yeah, it kind of like goes out of focus at certain times, or like during like the guitar solo, it kind of like pans down just a little bit, and yeah, it's, for as simple of an idea as it is, it's done really well.
Yeah. Also, with reference to the guitar solo, I love that we just get a straight shout to Kalindo.
Oh yeah,
like right before Kalindo.
Yeah.
Once again, like kind of doing the like a thing you would do in a live setting that like makes its way onto the album. I always love that.
Yeah. Then after that, we get Tightrope, which was the first single from the album. Her first, you know, really bona fide hit. Song went gold, was nominated for a Grammy for Best Urban or Alternative Performance. This, I feel like, is the song that is kind of the defining piece of this album.
I mean, it really is. Like, this is the first, I mean, obviously, since it was the first single, this is the first thing a lot of people heard from Janelle. And I mean, it features Big Boy. Everybody loves Big Boy. Like, we were all missing Outcast at this point. You know, it's literally my first note on this song is, damn, this song rules. And I have been thinking that since the early 2010s. And I still think that now. It's just an incredible, super, super catchy song.
Had Outkast like officially gone on hiatus at this point?
I don't know.
Or had they not quite?
I think Idlewild came out in
2006.
2006. I don't know if they were officially done or not. I'm gonna look this up right now because I need to know whether or not I said something stupid just now.
Yeah, and I don't know if we even mentioned it that Janelle was featured on a couple songs on Idlewild, which has also contributed a lot to her. You know, that creative relationship with Big Boy obviously was super important to her career. That's, you know, he's who sort of introduced her to Sean Combs and how she sort of gets this sort of break in the industry after she had talked about like not wanting to do major label showcases anymore and just like, I'm just gonna keep selling CDs on my car, and that's when it all kind of came together for her.
Yeah. It also does not look like they were officially on hiatus.
But it had been a few years. Yeah, so that makes sense.
And they like both Andre 3000 and Big Boy had kind of broken off into their own like solo stuff.
Right.
You know, either being featured on other things or regardless, Big Boy rules. He's great on this song.
Great. Yeah. In general, this is a song sort of about the importance of balance, is how she describes it, and you know, between the highs and lows of life, whether you're being criticized or lauded, whether things are going well, whether they're not. It's, you know, she uses this idea of a tightrope, you know, walking a high wire basically, and doing it while in this music video, she is just doing this crazy dance. She's not actually tightrope walking, although that would be kind of cool. But she's doing this dance that it's one of those like Michael Jackson style dance moves that to me just seems impossible. I don't really understand how it works.
No, I've never understood the physics of this video at all.
Yeah, the aesthetics of it are great though. Like they're all wearing these tuxedos, which she wears a tuxedo in like every interview she did for this record too. She calls it her work uniform, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's set in this asylum, and there's these creepy, like, sort of guards in robes with mirrored faces that are kind of following her around. But then they have this, like, little spot in the basement where all of the people in this asylum seem to be just having this great party there.
Yeah, it totally rules. Another video I've seen a million times.
Yeah.
In fits and starts for the most part, due to it being on a screen that I probably wasn't supposed to be focusing on too much, but you know.
This song, it sort of at first it struck me as kind of a surprising single choice because I feel like it moves between a lot of styles and ideas, and there's this like horn interlude and there's like a ukulele lullaby at the end. And then I realized that like all week I was just like could not stop singing this song no matter what I was doing, and then I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense as the single.
Yeah, this is straight up the catchiest song on the album. The most imminently like stuck in your head. That like, you know, Janelle's a better like singer than any of us will ever be, and I'm talking about literally all of us, everybody listening to this and beyond. That's not necessarily true, but you know what I mean.
It's probably true.
It's probably true. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's just yeah, it's got all the qualities of a great single, and like it just like even outside of the context of the album, even though you know obviously that is not the ideal listening environment. Like it works really well on its own. Like
yeah,
you know, beyond the story of the greater album itself.
Did you check out the alt version that has B.O.B. and Lupe Fiasco on it instead of Andre 3000?
Yeah, I actually you mean Big Boy?
Oh, sorry, yes, Big Boy, wrong Outcast member.
I mean, it would be cool if they had another alternate version with Andre on it. That would be sick as hell. Yeah, I actually kind of like that alternate version. I had not heard it prior to listening to it for this episode. It kind of rules, and that video is also very good.
Yeah, it's nice to have like another version of it that doesn't feel like a totally tossed off. Like it is not just a remix. It's a really like a totally different thing.
Yeah, and Janelle gets another verse on it, which is really cool, and like kind of breaks out of the style that she was doing for her part on this song. Yeah, it's cool as hell.
Yeah. Then we got Neon Gumbo, which is really just a little interlude, which I feel like you kind of need something a little bit of a come down from those two like high energy singles. And this is really just the closing bit of Many Moons from the previous EP played in reverse. Not a ton to dig into on this one, I don't think. No,
it is a like if you didn't recognize what was going on at the outset of the song, you will figure it out by the time that organ comes in. So yeah, but yeah, like you said, it is a much needed like I guess palate cleanser, if you will, between or you know after those two really high energy songs, and I think it works pretty well as that function is concerned.
Yeah. And then next up, you got that kind of goes right into O Maker, which is this sort of another kind of ballad and a very based around as like an acoustic folk intro, which is the kind of thing that she did a lot on the audition. And you kind of have, at least I had kind of forgotten by this point on the record. It's like, oh yeah, she used to actually play in this space a fair bit.
Yeah.
And it builds up into like this really cool gospel influenced groove as the song goes on. But I thought that was an interesting place to start and kind of a callback to some of her earlier stuff.
Yeah, I think that is a really neat callback. But it also feels like iterative on that kind of mode that she's done before, because like something that I notice every single time this song comes on is like, yeah, this is a really sweet, like very pleasant to listen to guitar line, but something's off. and then everything else that comes in, something's a little off about this too. And like just kind of given the general emotion of the song and the fact that we start talking about, you know, more there's references in this song that are apparently explained on the 57821 Tumblr account, where there are different color codes for different Android emotions. There's that line, "We suffered a rare blue," which is apparently blue in Android emotions signifies yearning or longing on an existential level, and the mysterious lower frequencies, which have no name, which I think is rad.
Yeah, I mean, there's the love burning yellow, becoming orange. You know, you get a lot of that. I can't remember, this color theory thing doesn't really pop up anywhere else on the album, does it?
No, I think it's maybe referenced once more later on the album, but it's not like, I don't think it's a thing that like pervades as the story goes on. But I don't know. I haven't revisited some of those later albums in a while, so maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, but like as a, in a more general sense, like it's very much a song about her sort of trying to figure out why she's the way she is by asking her, the people who made her as an android, or, in a more human sense, like asking, God or a deity or the world at large, why do I have to be the way that I am? It might be easier if I was a different way.
Yeah. It's asking some big questions.
Yeah. Then after that, you get "Come Alive," "The War of the Roses," which is my favorite song on this record. A sort of singular, almost like crazy bluesy rock song with a lot of acoustic and crunchy guitars and insane bass line. This is like so high energy, just these almost unhinged vocal performance going on. I love everything about this one.
Oh my god, yeah, the vocals on this song are like nothing else on this record at all. This song in general is like almost totally out of left field, but it feels like it still fits. Because it's got this like kind of rockabilly vibe. The bass part is like kind of like the Rock Lobster bass part, which is tough for me to shake, but I still love it. Rock Lobster is a good song. Sorry about it.
I was thinking Murder by Death, but
Murder by Death. You're maybe you're like more upbeat Stray Cats songs. I don't know, but anyway, this song is just like unhinged in a lot of ways, and I absolutely love it. Just like the way she returns to that, "That's When I Come Alive," is really great. There's some really great stank on the word "wild" when she says, "Now let's go wild." And then there's the like really aggressively shouted vocals in the third verse that are just incredible.
Yeah, this, just from a performance perspective, it's you listen to this album and it's like, oh yeah, I already kind of feel like she can do anything, and then she just does another thing that I didn't think she could do.
Pulls something else out of their pocket that just like cannot, like, couldn't have guessed that this was coming, but I'm not surprised that it did.
Yeah. And I mean, it's sort of based around this idea, like, when everything is wrong, I dance inside my mind, which I feel like is sort of representative of where the Cindy Mayweather character is at this point, that she's getting more in touch with her emotion and becoming more human in a way that, like, she has an internal life that, you don't necessarily think of an android as having. And I think, and that's, the central metaphor of the record is that people who are different than you also have internal lives.
Yeah, and clearly Cindy is, contending with that too, because like she has not been led to think that is something that she can have throughout the course of her life, and yet the material reality of her experience as an android, as a person, is kind of proving otherwise, and always has been this entire story.
Yeah. Then you get "Mushrooms and Roses," which closes out the Suite 2, the first sort of half of this record. And this one, amusingly, is inspired by a stage dive at Bonnaroo and Jack White's mustache, according to the liner notes.
Sure.
But this is like a kind of a psychedelic slow jam. The vocals have all kinds of phaser, has this big guitar solo. Yet another sort of left turn stylistically by this point in the album.
Yeah, it gets... Yeah,
it's trippy.
It is very... Yeah, a little bit. The vocals are just like absolutely drowned in effects. We get some new characters introduced, namely this Blueberry Mary, who's another android who apparently just loves everybody in many and varied ways. Janelle mentions at one point that that mushrooms, or sorry, I think this might not have been a direct quote. This might have just been a note from Never mind. This is just a note from Genius. I'm not going to quote it.
Okay.
But yeah, this like you said, like really dives into all of the hallmarks of psychedelic music. Like you've got big time filters on everything. The vocals are kind of warbly. The drums are super in the pocket, but like just on the edge of being in the pocket, to the point where you kind of focus in on them in a weird way, even though there's all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, and then lyrically, it's very about mind opening, whether through drugs or through sex or through
Both
this general
at the same
experience
time.
of love at the same both at the same time. It again, just like not a thing I expected, not a direction I expected this album to go.
Yeah, we'll get to Wonderland in a little while here, but I'm kind of wondering if like the physical location that this song takes place in is what we're referring to later on as Wonderland, because this song and that song seem pretty directly tied together.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. Then so then there's another suite getting into the second half of the album. I don't know. Do you have anything on Suite 3? It's somewhat similar to the first to the Suite 2 overture, that it's pulling from motifs and ideas from what's going to happen through the rest of the album, particularly the closing track.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to me, like with the way that a lot of Suite 3 feels, that like the beginning of the overture feels almost more jazzy than the first overture does at any point, because there's not nearly as much jazz going on in the back half of this album as I think there is in the front half. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the overture itself works really well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then you're getting into Neon Valley Street, which is where the second half of the album really kicks off. And kind of what I was talking about earlier is feeling, and we were talking about this as being more of a character focused arc of or a character focused suite, I guess, arc of the story. And this song sets that up by having being mostly flashbacks to Cindy and Anthony's early meetings, and just kind of the idea that she is hoping that this song he'll be able, because they're separated at this point, like they're in, I don't know like the geography of the world or whatever to be able to explain it in those terms, but they're apart, and she's hoping that this song will reach him somehow, and that this expression of like their past, their love, their time together will get to him.
Yeah, we get kind of more we get more allusions to the real world in this breakdown here. The real world, big air quotes, you know what I mean though. The world in which Janelle Monáe exists, as opposed to Cindy Mayweather. I was saying, like, that stuff makes so much more sense when you have that context of the liner notes of like, oh, this is taking, this is something that she created, quote unquote, her character created in 2010 after being sent back in time. So the mix and match of like, quote unquote, like I said, real world stuff with the Cindy Mayweather story feels more appropriate when you think of it in those terms. Yeah. I particularly, with regards to that, like the line "Atomic Blues bombing hearts like Iraqis in Babylon." This, like, again, like doing kind of this time bending stuff, because we're referring to people living in modern day Iraq, and then like immediately launching back to Babylon, a long gone civilization, to whatever degree any civilization is gone, but. Yeah, I think this breakdown is really cool on this song.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight for me as well. And then by the end of the song, you get Kevin Barnes from Of Montreal coming in with "Confusion is a Walrus."
Yep. Yeah. Sure. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a band that said something about a walrus once. That's probably what it's a reference to.
Yeah. I guess one more thing about Neon Valley Street is the liner note inspiration for this one. It says that it's inspired by Cindy's last thoughts before entering cybertronic purgatory. So this is sort of as she's getting sent back in time, captured and sent back in time, I think. Is that what's happening there?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That that's when she's having these flashbacks, basically. which from a story perspective does make sense and kind of sets up the rest of the arc here. But then you get Make the Bus, which is a real outlier on this record, written by Kevin Barnes of Montreal. Apparently this was a leftover of Montreal song from their album False Priest that he then gave to Janelle because it fit the vibe of the ArchAndroid. I don't know that I think this fits on this album really at all.
Yeah, it's I told you this in the kind of pre-episode talk, but like just listening to this for the first time in a while and like having a little more of Montreal listening under my belt. I love Of Montreal. I think they're a great band, and like frankly, I think this is a good Of Montreal song. I don't really understand why it's here at all.
Yeah, this is already a long album, and this just every time I listen to it, this just feels like an unnecessary digression.
Yeah,
maybe the Suite 3 is too down tempo. I don't know what it would be. It doesn't feel like it has like a quote unquote a hit on it, which I don't think it needs one if you're keeping everything on the same album. But yeah, I've struggled with this one every time I've listened.
Yeah. So what's interesting is like at the end of Neon Valley Street, one of the last things that Kevin Barnes says is, "I hear the riot community approaching. Take my hand, Jane. Let's go talk to them." And it launches into this song, which like it kind of makes it seem like this is the next part of the story, and it's being told from whoever Kevin is representing here's character, talking directly to Janelle, Jane, as they're sometimes referred to by their friends. But like, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, maybe the liner notes illuminate this a little more, but like, I don't really know what this is doing here, like functionally for the story either.
No, the liner note is actually for this one is actually the least informative because it's just inspired by and then a whole bunch of acronyms, some of which I can kind of guess, like PKD, presumably is Philip K. Dick, but other than that, I have no idea. And some of them seem to reference Of Montreal songs, and I don't know. This is the one decision on this album that just feels off to me. Like it feels like so much of this record is a very strong, cohesive vision, and then there's this song that's in the middle there that just feels like, it feels like someone else's contribution because it is.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think it's so strange that there is no Janelle Monáe on this song whatsoever.
Is she not even singing on? Like, she's singing on it.
I don't think she is. I don't know that she is. I didn't hear her anywhere.
I'm looking at the actual credits, and I am 99% sure that she is on here. Yeah, no, she's credited with lead freaktastic vocals on this song, along with Kevin Barnes.
Okay, well then I guess I just need to give it a like even closer listen. But like, regardless, I don't feel Janelle Monáe in this song.
No, I agree. That's
which I think
right
is the bigger problem. Yeah.
Yep.
Again, like, I don't think this is a bad song. I don't need it here at all.
Yeah, agreed.
I would be fine if it got inserted back on False Priest.
Yeah. After that is Wonderland, which is another kind of psychedelic funk tune where the vocal stuff that they're doing gets pretty crazy. And this feels obviously, like you mentioned, very connected to Mushrooms and Roses and its idea of trying to get back to a place of extraordinary love or like, sexual excitement or whatever it is.
Yeah. This is very like this is the point in the story where things are getting real, and you just want to go back to the way things were, even though like maybe the circumstances surrounding those things were just as bad as they are now, but at least you were experiencing some form of pleasure, which is a valid feeling. I totally get it.
Yeah. I don't have a ton more about this one, but I don't know. Do you have anything else on it?
Unfortunately, the line "she thinks she left her underpants" is very funny to me because I'm 12.
It's so catchy too.
It's so catchy. Yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, this song's like really bubbly. Like everything just kind of feels like it's bouncing, which like makes it it is maybe like the one thing that makes make the bus make sense. But like again, if it wasn't there, I wouldn't miss it. But it does pair well with that song if nothing else. But that's about all I got.
Yeah. After that is 57821, which is this sort of contemplative, quiet ballad about Anthony Greendown rescuing Cindy from her captivity in it's not the asylum, but it's sort of the future analog of the asylum.
The Cybertronic Purgatory?
Cybertronic Purgatory, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's obviously it's sort of a companion piece to Sir Greendown from earlier in the record. And I think these two songs work really well together as sort of the anchoring ballads of each side of this album.
Yeah. They feel like they're pulling from kind of similar sonic pools. I think this one's got a little more going on lyrically than Sir Greendown did. Which, given that we're shifting to the perspective of character we really haven't heard directly from, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I like that we get to this line, I saved you so you'd save the world, kind of contributing to this, we kind of talked earlier about, Cindy questioning whether or not her love for Anthony is like holding her back from her actual calling, but like ultimately like he is the one who comes to save her so that she can go fulfill her greater purpose. This isn't like knight in shining armor type shit. It is like I am fulfilling my part in this greater story that is your story, which I think is really cool that is like specified in this song.
Yeah. One of the liner notes in this says that this song was inspired by the blue of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
Hell yeah.
Which I love. Makes me just really want to talk to Janelle Monáe about Star Wars.
Yep, I have a feeling that would be a wonderful conversation.
Yeah. Wonder if she likes The Last Jedi. I hope she does.
I bet. I would be willing to wager.
Yeah. So this song kind of sets up the last two tracks on the record, which are both very long, slower songs that go in kind of a lot of different directions, even just within there's like kind of a pairing here at the end. So you've got Say You'll Go, which is another kind of straight up love song and is about really focusing on love as this eternal, everlasting thing. There's a lot of references to Nirvana, to like Buddhist ideas of cyclicity. Cyclicality. I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked so much about Bright Eyes. I should have probably had that word in my head.
No, it's good. The cycle of birth, life, death, reincarnation, etc., etc.
Exactly. Yeah. So that, I mean, I think, and so yeah, that's sort of I think kind of the focus of the song.
Yeah, it definitely is. We get some like really great images in this song. One of my favorites is in that second verse, the witness the interaction of the flood, the sea, the sky, the dove, time erodes the shore, but not our love. Just these like kind of extended metaphors about like, yeah, the kind of eternal nature of a love like this.
Yeah, like when you think of the on geological timelines, even it'll outlast even that.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, because that the specific use of that image is obviously very intentional. Like talking about this slow, literal erosion of land. That again, a thing you don't notice in any given moment, but over the course of time is very, very obvious.
Yeah. And then it ends with a sort of a minute of Claire de Lune on piano. Just kind of one more little meditation to set up the end of the record.
Yeah.
And then after that we got Baya, the closing track, 8.5 minutes or so of multiple movements and sort of bring the record to a close. This song was based on a composition by Nate Wonder's father. that I think had just kind of been in their family. Seemed like, based on the interview, seemed like a thing that they just kind of played, would always kind of hang out and listen to, and then decided they wanted to try to find a place to use it on this record. And it has kind of three different movements. It's got like kind of a lounge jazz vibe, a Latin section, and then another big kind of ending that fits more with the rest of the record. I don't know how you want to tackle this song. There's a lot in it.
There is a lot in it. I guess we should begin at the beginning, but I did really like the story of like kind of the inspiration behind this song. Being like they ended up finding that reel to reel of Nate's dad like singing the song, which was like kind of the reference you like. Obviously, prior to that, it had been kind of more of an oral tradition type thing. But they were like, yeah, we found the tape, the one tape that exists of this song that we didn't think existed. Not the song itself, just the tape, the physical object. Like that. I thought that was super, super neat. And like, just them kind of being like, yeah, like this song kind of started before we were born. And I was like, that's wild, man. That's a wild thing to say. But it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do refer to this as the Moby Dick of the album, where I don't remember the exact quote, but it was like, yeah, we kept looking down and it was like Jaws, where we kept thinking we had to get a bigger boat. And I'm like, yeah, this sure did end up being expansive.
Yeah, I mean, it takes on this it's I don't know, it's the full arc of her story through the record.
Yeah. And like, is kind of represented by this moving, moving through many kind of genre conventions over the course of these three movements that are all kind of separated by these, like, I think I've kind of demarcated them by the like big horn stings that occur at different points in the song. The first being at the top of the song, which is like this like big horn drone, and then we get these like another like really big orchestral moment. We get a bunch of like percussion, timpani, etc. These really like big soaring vocal melodies in this first movement, which like we don't stop getting those over the course of the song, but like it really sets the tone for where we're going.
Yeah, and then by the end of the song you get to this idea that like this love has sort of been all consuming, and then and by the end, looking forward to this time when, what's the lyric? I shall be unafraid, violence will not move me. This time we will relax and stay in our movie. Which I just thought it was a really nice lyric. And then like to then get to, I see beyond tomorrow, the life of strife and sorrow, my freedom calls and I must go. This idea that like, in this love you find what you are fighting for.
Yeah, it really ties everything together in a really nice way. Nice sounds not like the right word, but like in this very neat way, I would say. Which like given that like musically this song does not resolve at all. It just hangs out on a chord. I should have done some analysis on what it was, but like you'd expect us to move back to the one at the end, and we just do not, because we're in the third act of a 4 or maybe more act play right now, which makes perfect sense. And like where we are in the story, like we don't know where we're going after this. We just know that we have to go.
Yeah, and that is how this third suite works as a character arc for Cindy, because it is the it's sort of the, you get all the backstory, and then you're like, okay, now why you're fighting, what you're fighting for, and what's at stake, and then we can move to again what at this point was supposed to be the finale. Yeah,
exactly. I guess I kind of skipped completely over the second movement, which is also very cool.
Yeah, it's all Latin, very percussive, and it's a cool section of the song. I guess I didn't really look up the English translation of the lyrics, or I didn't really internalize it, but I do like that section.
That section is really great. I also love that I'm less and less impressed by like odd time signatures as time goes on, but like when one is used really, really well, like that, like the 11/8 section that happens here, the where's the the part that starts with "and when I'm alone, you are near me," like it's deployed so tastefully. It's just a very subtle shift because like we kind of got this six feel going into that part with the part that's in Spanish, but then we snip off one little beat at the end of a 2-bar phrase, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty. I love when an album builds to a song like this. A multi-movement. It feels appropriately sort of expansive and epic to conclude an album that is expansive and epic in so many ways.
Yeah, for real. Like this song is really like great. Like I truly, this is a hell of a closer. And yeah. I really love it.
It does like. I was kind of down on Suite 3, and I still kind of am, but I think this it leaves me on a good note.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the ArchAndroid. We already talked about the alt version of Tightrope. I don't think there's much else out there, at least not that I found from this era, outside of the kind of the promotional stuff, the movie trailers and stuff that sort of where we're supposed to make this album feel as cinematic as possible.
And I mean that intro trailer is wild. With like, it made me realize that the headpiece from the cover of this album definitely looks like a building from Final Fantasy VII. The way that is like zoomed in on as the clouds part in that trailer, and then we zoom out and it's actually Janelle in the headpiece, which is just super cool.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the From the Palace of the Dogs videos that like kind of introduce like a little bit about like what went into the album, where she's like writing in a journal. Like the first one, it's just the song titles, I think.
Yeah.
Coming from the asylum her character is held in the metafiction of the album. Yeah, it's so cool. Like this is like there are many times that I'm reminded that like the author or authors behind a work know so much more about the work than they will ever present to the world, and like that is just abundantly clear with Janelle Monáe and this album, and really her whole body of work, if I'm real honest.
Yeah. I'm excited to get onto the rest of these records to see where the story goes.
Yeah, for real. I've not, like, I don't think I've really mentioned this explicitly, but like I have never taken this body of work as like a full story before. I've always just kind of like listened to a Janelle Monáe album. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of approach these next couple records as continuations of this story.
Yeah. All right. Do you have a random recommendation for this week?
I do. This week I want to recommend a relatively new album from a band called Mandy, Indiana. Blake Carell, friend of the show, host of Like What You Like, was telling me about this album. Was like, you liked that Yahweh Nailgun album from last year, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, it's kind of like that, but like also kind of different. And I was like, all right, cool. And the Yahweh Nailgun album from last year, 45 Pounds, I think it was called, was an album that I described to people as, it doesn't sound like Nine Inch Nails, but it feels like Nine Inch Nails. And in that vein, this is like very much along those lines, except I'd say it sounds a little more like Nine Inch Nails. There's elements of industrial on this record. The songs are in French, which is very cool. Yeah, sorry, I don't think I mentioned the name of the album. This is Erg, the newest album from Mandy, Indiana. Just a really like abrasive but like very intriguing record from a band that I knew basically nothing about going in. So it was kind of nice to experience something really, really fresh like that. If you're at all into really, it was released on Sacred Bones Records. If you are familiar with that label, you probably kind of get the degree of weird that this is going to be and should probably check it out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it beyond it. It just kind of rules, and I have a feeling it will be. I'll probably be talking about it a little more at the half-year mark, depending on what else comes out over the course of the first half of this year.
Yeah, this one's been on my list to listen to for a bit, so I'm excited for it.
Cool. Yeah, I think you'll dig it.
Sweet.
But yeah, what you got?
I am going to recommend, maybe unsurprisingly to you, a video game. I am going to recommend this new game called Mugenics. This is the new game from the Binding of Isaac creator, Edmund McMillan, also creator of Super Meat Boy. If you're into weirdo platformers and indie games and stuff, you no doubt are familiar with his work. This game is a tactical strategy game, also cat breeding simulation, and it is just, I mean, two genres, that I am not super into typically, turn-based stuff and breeding / life sim stuff. But this game is just so fun. I cannot stop playing it. I just, for whatever reason, I very much vibe with his sort of his style, his humor, and maybe that means I'm 12 years old and still on new grounds in my head or something. But whatever it is, I find this game just absurdly fun and just weird in all the ways that I like things to be weird, and I'm having a blast with it.
Yeah, I haven't played this game yet, but I'm very excited to get my hands on it at some point here. I've listened to so many interviews with Edmund about this game and just people talking about it in general, and it just, like, I was already sold on it to begin with, but I'm even more sold on it now that I've heard you talk about it, now that I've heard him talk about it more, and just kind of knowing how much work went into getting this damn game out there. It sounds wild, and it also sounds very up my alley because I love Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, then you're gonna love this.
Yeah, I have a feeling I will.
Cool. So yeah, we'll be back next week talking about the Electric Lady, and which I guess is the kind of the end of the Metropolis sequence for now. But yeah, that's next week. And in the meantime, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. We will see you next week.
See you next week.